All right, good morning, everyone. Appreciate this opportunity to come talk to you about this exciting project we have in the Weber River. And thanks for the opportunity to the Weber River Partnership. And Darren, that was a good lead into what I'm just about to talk about, so appreciate that as well. My name is Scott McGettigan. Like they said, I work for the Division of Water Resources. I manage the Water Efficiency and Technology section, and which is appropriate because that's what we're going to be talking about here is a new water technology, and it's actually more specifically snow. So let me turn this so I can see what we're looking at here. All right, so I know I'm probably preaching to the choir, but I just want to emphasize the importance of snow to Utah and to the communities in which we live. It really touches every aspect of our lives, I think. It's important to recreation, to ecological processes, to water management, to agriculture. It's really involved in everything, and it's even aesthetically, it's important to us. I mean, how many songs do we sing during the holiday season about you wanting to see snow for Christmas? So I think it's important in a lot of ways that we don't even maybe think about sometimes. But and like I said, I'm sure you all feel similar. Just important to note that we get 95% of our water comes from snowpack here in Utah, and so that. Want to emphasize that as well. And there's, the ski industry just alone, that's just one aspect of recreation, is $2.5 billion in annual spending. So we really do care about snow, and I know you all know that. So, all right, so we've talked a little bit about this already, snowpack and snowpack measurement, and Darren was mentioning SWE, which is snow water equivalent. And that's how we measure the water content in snow. And it's important because maybe one way to explain this is we know that snow is variable because, when you wake up in the morning, you see snow in your driveway and it's that wet, heavy stuff, that cement, we can call it Sierra cement, but that's the day you tell your son, I think it's your turn to shovel the driveway today. So, and if you go out, wake up another morning and it's nice, light, fluffy stuff, and you're like, I got this today. This is me. I can get the leaf blower out and get this off of here. So, but that's important to know because that emphasizes, snow is variable. And also, we've experienced this before where we wake up in the morning, we see that snow in our neck of the woods, and we drive maybe 5-10 miles, and the level of snow, or if there is even snow in that area, can be different. And so, but we realize that snow can be variable, and all these things are key elements to understanding how much snow is in a watershed. All right, so historically, how snow has been measured started back in the early 1900s. Dr. James Church pioneered the Mount Rose sampler. Maybe you've heard of this before. It's a metal tube that they would stick in the ground, and actually at first they'd weigh it, and then they would take it, stick it in the ground, and then get that snow out of there and weigh it again, and that's how they would get the water content in the snow. And he developed that back in the early 1900s. And since that time, there's been some evolution in the snow measurement process and how we do it and how it's accomplished. In 1939, the Soil Conservation Service took over measuring snow at snow-tell sites, or actually was it snow course sites back then, I should say. And so we have advanced even from then to the snow-tell sites, which we're familiar with, the snow telemetry sites, which have more advanced technology associated with them. They have the snow pillows. There's a lot more weather sensors on those, and they can transmit wireless data and get instantaneous information. And that was in the 1970s. And there's probably been more advancements that I haven't noted in this timeline here, but in 2010s, we started getting some more interest in it and evolving into using airborne, using LiDAR to scan and understand our snowpack better. And that leads me to the next point here, and that's I'm going to talk about what is ASO. Well, that's Airborne Snow Observatories. And this technology gets its origins in the Jet Propulsion Lab for NASA. And they initially started measuring the snowpack then with, trying to understand how we could do this and accurately get a sense of the snowpack from using this technology, which has been around. Actually, LiDAR has been around for a long time, but applying it in this way was a new idea or a new approach. So. But when they first started doing it, they were getting 98% or better in their predictive abilities of what the snowpack was. And they worked on this program for several years and expanded into this year. And they started in California, so a lot of the initial projects were in that region. And they expanded some Colorado River watersheds into the Rio Grande, Snake River, and then even across the ocean to the Swiss Alps. So in 2019, NASA said it's time for this technology to be to leave the NASA's sphere and go to the public, the commercial space, I should say. And they began to operate as a company, and they're the only ones authorized at ASO, the Airborne Snow Observatories, is to use this technology that was developed within NASA. And they currently have over 30 entities that they do snow water supplies forecasting for. This is a map of their current Western area operations, and I just have to note this is an older map, so it doesn't have our Wings Over Weber project on here. But you can see, like I said, a lot of the concentrations in California and in Colorado has been doing this for some time too as well. All right, I had a video. I'm not sure if it would even pull up. It might go to YouTube and just pull up a lot of ads. What's the vote? Should I try it? Give it a shot. I'm not sure if this is connected to Wi-Fi anyways. Let's see here. Good.
So we've been measuring snow the same way with snow tubes since the early 1900s. And a lot of the technologies have changed since then. Some of the new emerging technologies that we've explored is the...
It's on my screen, not... Just realized that. Thanks. You can just exit for a second, yeah. And there you go. And this is from here
doing a new observatory where they're able to determine how much snow is on the ground by airplane.
The Airborne Snow Observatory is an aircraft that has a scanning LiDAR and an imaging spectrometer on board. And from 23,000 feet flying over, we can measure the snow depth to within about 2.5 inches from 23,000 feet. Still blows me away, and I've been doing this for over a decade now.
You think about our traditional network of snow courses and snow pillows, and those are all in individual single locations. And when you think about how big a watershed is, even if you're measuring maybe 10 sites in a large watershed, you're not covering the whole thing. And so with ASO, it can fly over and get data every 3 square meters in that watershed and tell us very precisely what's going on in the snowpack, more so than we've ever known before.
If you think of it like a television set, with the snow courses, those snow tubes, and the snow pillows, about 4 or 5 of the pixels on your TV set get turned on. Well, you can't see the whole picture. So with the Airborne Snow Observatory, what we do is turn on every pixel of the TV. So we get the complete picture, and we know how much water there is in that snowpack.
It's really important that we have an understanding in each watershed and the best understanding we can. And so that's where these technologies like ASO come in to improve that understanding. And we've got great partners up and down the state, local water agencies and federal water agencies, the United States Bureau of Reclamation, that are helping make sure we get this technology expanded as far as we can.
Snow surveys and the forecast that comes from that allows us to be able to operate much more efficiently. So when you know how much water is coming, the users of the water can plan better. We can maximize storage and not over-release ahead of time or not under-release and have issues of flooding. So definitely critical to operations of not only Lake Tahoe, but the other reservoirs in the system.
We'll cut to the chase. Since the beginning of time, humans have been trimming their nails. So, why don't we really think about nail clippers?
A great addition there, sorry. Do you want to leave that one here? Yeah, I'll let you manage that. And I didn't give an appropriate introduction to that video, but it's obviously from the California Department of Water Resources. So I'm just going to keep moving on because I know I'm going to probably run up against time here, but I think the next thing I was going to talk about was just the Weber, Wings Over Weber project. Here. Oh, I can use this thing. Perfect. All right. Yeah. So just to mention, there's obviously some processing involved with this ASO effort, and what they need to first do the flights, then do some post processing, and then that they can turn that into some flow numbers as well. And so when we were first considering doing a project here in Utah, at least we were looking at the Great Salt Lake Basin. We looked at several options, and it just seemed like that the Weber made the most sense for what we were looking at this point in time. Utah Lake was interesting, but it was actually kind of a little bit too connected to another ASO project we already had in the Uinta Watershed, the headwaters, I should say. And then the Jordan River was a little bit smaller, and it has less reservoirs, so we thought that didn't wasn't quite as interesting. And here we go. And then the Bear is very large, has some interesting operational qualities, but it was just hard to narrow down onto just one spot. And so we decided to go with the Weber for this particular project. And this project is funded in part by a federal grant from Reclamation, and they're sharing in 50% of the cost. And we have several agencies involved, and we also have the Weber Basin Water Conservancy District is also a partner in this, and we have the Great Salt Lake Commissioner's Office is also sharing in this. I'm gonna keep going here. Oh, so just the main project objectives, I think, is just to boil it all down, is to learn about ASO and how it could be beneficial to understanding the snowpack in the state of Utah, and how we can, if we'd be interested in expanding it or using it more. And so the main objectives were to learn in a lot of ways. And here's the project area. It's not the entire watershed. It's just the upper portions of it. You can see it. We're capturing Echo Reservoir and East Canyon and Smith and Morehouse and Rockport. And we thought those were some good areas to start working with and understanding how that impacts the whole system. And like I said, so these are some of the project partners we're working with. We're the project lead, the Division of Water Resources. We have project partners, Weber Basin, Great Salt Lake Commissioner's Office, and Reclamation provides the oversight of the project, and ASO is our consultant and does the flights. And our project timeline was set that we wanted to do 3 flights in the first year and 2 flights in the next 2 following years, but we were not able to get a snow-free flight in soon enough to be to do for the last year. We didn't have a snow-free flight in. We were doing flights without knowing what the snow-free information was, and so it was a retrospective year. And so we decided that it made more sense to move our 3rd flight to the last year so we could get the most value from it. Sorry, I'm kind of going through this quicker. I didn't time this very well. We had our 2025 flights were interesting. We got out to do a little bit measuring to help them calibrate their systems and make sure that they could understand if everything's working well, and they appreciate any additional measurements, on the ground measurements we can apply. And so our first results, like I said, these were retrospective, so we couldn't apply them in the moment, but we were getting pretty well matching with what was seen on the ground. And they have a lot of interesting products that they can produce from this, from the ASO process. And this shows that we did 2 surveys, one on March 26th, and then I think the other one was April 13th and 14th of last year. And you can see how the snowpack had changed from one time to the next. And there's some other interesting products that you can get from this. And this shows the aspect, an aspect plot on the right-hand side where the snow is mostly accumulated, and then an elevation look of the snowpack on the left. And you can see how from the first survey date we did in March to April, to how a lot of this low elevation snow had melted off. And so I'm gonna just quickly mention there is one other ASO project, like I think I already said, in the Colorado River. It was the first one beat us by a year, and they're called Flakes, Flights, and Forecasts. And there's some kind of contest in naming these projects. If you haven't noticed, I think we win now. Theirs is great too. Flakes, Flights, and Forecasts, though, has 1 more year left, and But I will leave it at that. And any questions, I may have time for one.
I was just curious if this ASO project data can or will be used to inform cloud seeding efforts in the future.
That's a good question. I don't know if it will inform like how to operate cloud seeding. It may help to understand what the impacts of it are. I've definitely thought about that and how we could, look at those kinds of things. And we have a great cloud seeding coordinator that works for Division of Water Resources, and I've asked him how we could accomplish that. It is kind of complicated because he was saying we need to schedule a flight like kind of last minute kind of thing to be able to really we're going to see this storm, go out and fly right after, and that's a little bit complicated. But there is a possibility to get a better understanding of how cloud seeding impacts are, and add another evidence that suggests it actually works, because there still might be some skeptics out there. So.
Hi, I sat in the corner. There's a number of riparian restoration projects in the headwaters in some of the areas that are mapped already here, and I'm wondering if there's any opportunity to kind of coordinate. Many of those are also funded by a BOR grant, so that could be a nice story for them. And share, if it's helpful, happy to share locations of where projects are, and maybe there's interesting patterns, or maybe this could be used to prioritize areas for riparian restoration as well.
Yeah, thanks. It's this information I should just mention is the ASO has made it every single survey that they do available on their website. You just have to just create a login, and then you can access it. So they've made it publicly available, which was great. I know that they have recently changed their policy, but I believe it's still mostly publicly available. So, and I mean, we also, as Division of Water Resources, being a partner in that, can provide it to you as well.
I was just curious how the data compares to snow-till sites, and is this something that could be a sustainable replacement for those, or would it more just inform how they could be better distributed?
Yeah, so we will definitely contrast and compare how it, performs relative to other methods. There's the snowpack element of it where we're going to want to see how it compares to the snow-till sites are excellent. They're what we need to really make sure we're getting everything right. And so I don't think we'll ever necessarily do away with those, because that's the best measurement you get. But it is only in one isolated spot that we're 6 snow-till sites, I believe, in the Weber River watershed, and so you're just depending on only of those. It is an expensive process. We have to think about the cost versus the benefit that you get from it, and so I'm not sure what the value is. That's what we're exploring and seeing if it makes sense to do it more frequently. There is a value of just improving science and getting a better feel for how snowpack translates into runoff and other elements that come from just doing this kind of LiDAR process. So, but great question, thanks.